Hello everybody and welcome to our first ever Vanguard ZERO Tournament here on the channel. It is very exciting to begin this. Unfortunately, before the tournament even began, we do have one entry that could not make it today, so unfortunately he will be eliminated from the tournament. How this tournament will work is that it is a best of 3 game. It is a single elimination tournament. So how this will run is players will only be allowed to use one deck in this entire tournament, and this deck will not change. I have deck lists available for me to use so that I can see if anyone is using any different cards outside of the deck that they have sent in. This is a single elimination tournament, as I have mentioned before, and will be played best out of 3 games. So the player that wins 2 out of the 3 games will move on to the next round, and the losing player will be eliminated. Now there will be a 3rd place match, so keep that in mind for anyone that makes the semifinals. So how that will work is the losers of the semifinal round will face each other to play for 3rd place. So those of you that do make it to the semifinals, you do have a chance to play for 3rd place, so don't leave just yet. Now other than that, we could now reveal the tournament bracket as well as share which pairs will go out first. So here I have the bracket. Now unfortunately, Stankurmom will not be able to make it to this tournament because he did not make it on time, so he will be removed from the tournament, and Akihiro will advance to the semifinals. So our first round will actually be Rhino versus Looker, and let me see if they are ready. It looks like we will have to take a few moments, but that is fine. So we do have a stream delay for this stream, specifically so that the people that are in this tournament will not be able to stream snipe so successfully, because they'll have to wait exactly 1 minute before it'll be the present. And yeah, that is that. We will take a short break so that I can check on the players, specifically Rhino and Looker, and see how they are doing. So we will be right back. Hello everybody and welcome back. I do apologize for the very lengthy wait, but we did have a last minute addition. Fortunately, we did have someone on the ready for standby in place of Stan, so we will be conducting this first match, and it'll be Zyzon instead. Zyzon's gonna be taking Stan's place for the entirety of this tournament, so it'll be Zyzon versus Akihiro in this first round. And I am just waiting for Hero to get back into the room because he has left. Okay, it looks like Hero has rejoined the room, so now we're going to begin. And then I will cut to the fight screen as soon as they are ready. Are we perhaps experiencing technical difficulties? Let me check in, make sure they're okay. Okay, looks like Hero is ready, just waiting for his eyes on. Alright, here we go. So, this first round we have not Stan, I was not able to change it in time, but we have Zizon versus Akihiro. Zizon is not using a Kagero deck. Zizon is using an OTT deck. So please disregard Stan's screen. I do apologize that I was unable to fix it before the stream, but we had some few last minute changes. Okay. So it looks like we got Akihiro with the classic Kagero, and then Misaki's rocking with her sleeves from the Valentine event, which are actually nice. Oh, it looks like Hero is going to be forced to ride that perfect guard from his hand. That's really unfortunate. And Hero is going to hope for a trigger. No. Going to end the turn right there. Not going to give the 1 damage. Zizon does not see that grade 2 and is forced to ride the Faithful Angel from his hand. And that's the grade 2 that he was looking for. It was the next card. Now, judging by Hero's grade 0, it does look like Hero is running a Blazing Flare deck. He does get the Blazing Core Dragon off, but does he have the Iron Tail Dragon in hand to pull it off? And it doesn't look like he's putting it down, so it probably means that he doesn't. Now, the way I am commentating, I do not want to reveal anything in either player's hands. And yes, I am aware that of their cards. And we do see Hero with a heal here, which does not really matter. And it looks like that Gatling Claw Dragon might just sit there because it does not look like Zizon will be able to have a grade 0 on the field. I think Hero just mostly needs that Gatling Claw for superior ride purposes. But I think the plus side with having Gatling Claw on the field is that it provides a booster. We're going to see Zizon ride the Amaterasu, so he does not see the grade 3 Tsukuyomi, but I still think that Amaterasu is a pretty decent ride because you kind of want to have the 6th soul. She's gonna call the Omniscience Madonna just to go for damage. It looks like they're going for damage, and it's gonna be guaranteed 2 hits here. And that's the Iron Tail Dragon that Hero was looking for. And it looks like Zizon's gonna get a stand trigger. Maybe a double trigger would allow him to get another attack in, but does not get the trigger. Silent Tom does go to the bottom. And I am wondering if Zizon is gonna keep track of his stack, but we shall see. Because the thing with Tsukuyomi is you really want to keep track of your stack. Maybe Hero could perhaps draw into the Iron Tail Dragon here. and we'll see what moves he makes. Looks like Hero is going to ride the Goku from his hand. He's potentially going to get rid of that back row blue eye, which is awesome. Could be a really good play, depending on what he does here. Puts down the Flame Edge Dragon, so he is going to hope to build the soul, and perhaps maybe in the future ride a Blazing Flare Dragon that could potentially fall into his hand, which is not a bad play at all. And his Dual Axe Arc Dragon column does hit for the 20, so it will hit over defensive. Oh, it does look like Zaizan will hit that defensive, so will Hero go for the Goku and potentially retire the Blue Eye? Or will he go for that third damage? Trigger counts? Yes. And it does look like Hero will be able to get rid of that grade 1. So no matter if he had gotten a trigger or not, no matter if this attack hits, he would still retire something, which is really great. Of course, he would have had to get a trigger. And so this way, he does not have to waste his Heat Nail Salamander. And it looks like Hero's gonna get that third damage off, and we'll see how Zaizan will respond. Only 3 cards in hand. Does have 1 Interceptor on the field over on Hero's side. And Zaizan has decided to put that card on the bottom. Maybe not a card he wants to draw into. So the play might be to go face with both the Vanguard and the Rearguard lanes. No, gonna go for the Dual Axe Arc Dragon, which is also a good play because that column could have hit for a 20 over defensive. So he just wants to get rid of the field so that Hero doesn't have too much of an advantage. Which is a very good play by Zaizan. And Zaizan does even out the score at the moment. And we will see how Hero will respond. Looks like Hero is going to probably put down Interceptors on the field just to build for defense. This is the part of the game where things could go really fast, really slow. Looking at Hero's hands, if he has a slightly bigger hand than Zaizan, he might try to be aggressive here, especially since Zaizan doesn't have any Interceptors at the moment. Gets rid of the Gaddon Claw Dragon, but this is good because he's made himself a column that hits for 15, which gets over, not a trigger, but that damage shield. So we'll see what order he decides to go in. He is going to go face with that Sutherland first. Now all of his columns do hit over 1 damage shield, and it does look like Zaizan will hit the defensive trigger, so it will be 1 to pass for his Vanguard. And we shall see if he gets the trigger. Gets that Dragonic Waterfall, gets that 1 trigger, so it does look like the attack will land. He could potentially use Goku to get rid of the Gemini instead of the Heat Nail Salamander, which he will do, which is great because that Heat Nail Salamander does stay for another turn. And it gives Sutherland and the Joka the +3. But it doesn't look like he'll be able to deal another damage on this turn, so it looks like Hero will be forced to get rid of a rear guard, which is still not bad. Because looking at Zizon's hand, he's going to have to place down cards, at least one more card to get rid of Hero's interceptors, which is still not bad. Not bad for Hero. Hero's looking to be in a really good position right now. And it is unfortunate that Zizon does not have the Tsukuyomi on as his Vanguard. But can Zizon still pull off the win with Amaterasu? Only going to put down the one interceptor from the hand that he just drew. It seems like this is his only play that he can make, and judging by the triggers, Zizon is behind. He is down 3 heal triggers at the moment, other than the ones that could potentially be in his hand, and it does get a stand trigger, so could potentially deal 2 damage to Hero on this turn. No, Hero does get that defensive trigger, which denies that 5th damage, and will go for that Mega Blast, potentially hoping for a perfect guard that could save him on this next turn. And we will see how Hero will respond. Might be able to end this game, but depending on what Zizon might have drawn, could be dangerous, because that Mega Blast might have saved Zizon. Now, looking at Hero's triggers, he only has 2 draw triggers left in the deck, potentially, and 3 heal triggers. Does not have 2 interceptors, but is still going to go for the offense. At least having 1 interceptor is okay. Gonna go for the Amber Dragon to the rear guard. So I'm guessing he's hoping to swing that the Flare Whip Dragon into the Vanguard to give the boost to the Vanguard. I believe it's +3. Does not look like Zizon's going to hit that defensive trigger. And this +3 does not really matter because it technically could not hit for 20, which would hit over a defensive trigger. But it's still a good boost nonetheless. Berserk Dragon, first check. Looks like he's not going to hit any triggers, which does not matter in this instance because Zizon does not have any grade 1s on the field. Zizon will activate that perfect guard that's in his hand, which is good because he drew that from the Mega Blast. But will Zizon be able to make a counter attack here? Now keep in mind that Zizon has used up a majority of his counterblast, and there is probably no possible way to use Tsukuyomi's skill. Gonna stay with Amaterasu on the Vanguard, and puts that card on the top, so it does look like it could possibly be a trigger. Puts down the Tsukuyomi from the hand, and the Tom, so he's possibly going for game here. This could be game-changing. Hero with 2 heals left in the deck. Now Zizon is hoping that Hero does not get a defensive trigger. No, it does not matter because the Tom can now hit for 20 over that defensive trigger. But a heal trigger here will not activate. Does not get the trigger, but it does not matter. Tom negates any use of a perfect guard. Hero's gonna hope for a heal. Does not get that heal, and that is gonna be a GG from Zizon. That was a great game. So looking at the bracket, it looks like not Stan, but Zizon will be moving on to the semifinals, and Akihiro is eliminated. Next up in our round will be Rhino versus Looker 13, and these guys will determine who will face Zizon in the semifinals. So I will now cut back to the break screen, and I will get the next players ready. So we will be right back. I have made a grave error. There is, that is not confirmed Zizon is in the next round. I forgot it is best out of 3. So, the second match will be decided. I apologize. But that was a very GG. So I will now let them know that I am ready. Again, I do apologize. Alright, I am ready for this second round, so Zizon is going to be hoping to get that next win here. Okay, it looks like Zizon and Hero are both ready, so now we will cut to the match. Again, this is, I forgot to update the thing again. Oh well. So, Zizon does have 1 win under his belt. I could actually update that as the match goes on. I am a complete mess. Now again, players are not allowed to switch out cards from their deck. It looks like Zizon will not see that grade 1, unfortunately. It looks like Hero is going to be... Oh my, I have the wrong perspectives. So it doesn't look like we'll be able to see Hero's hand. Oh my. So to fix this, I would simply just remove this hand because it's not needed. I guess it would not matter in this instance. Looks like Zizon is going to hit that draw trigger. And this go round, it does look like Hero's going to have that Iron Tail and Gatling Claw, so he would possibly get that Superior Ride. Unfortunately, we cannot see Hero's hand at the moment, but that is an error on my side. But that's okay. It'll be resolved in the next match. So we shall see if Hero does draw into the Blazing Core Dragon. Does get the Blazing Core Dragon this go around, so maybe Hero could change, turn the tables here. And I will update the layout. Gets that Blazing Flare Dragon onto the field. Going to call down the Amber Dragon. Now, is he going to look for the... He is going to look for the grade 3 Amber Dragon, which does force a heal. and I will fix the triggers. Gonna put down the Flame Edge Dragon, which could build the soul. It does provide as an interceptor. And we shall see how this plays out. Does put down the Flare Whip Dragon once again. Now, in this early stage, it doesn't look like Hero needs to put down as many interceptors, so maybe he's conserving, which is still a good play on his hand. And we see that Silent Tom that won him the game go to the damage zone, but obviously he might have more in his deck, but we do not know. Now, the updated layout is here. Awesome. Now we're gonna see if Zaizan does potentially get that grade 3 Tsukuyomi. It looks like he doesn't, and he's gonna force to ride the Omniscience Madonna from his hand. Gonna call another and a third. That is going to be 3 Omniscient Madonnas, which is unfortunate for Zaizan because he doesn't want to see that many heals so early. But let us see if Zaizan can still pull through, because he did miss Tsukuyomi last time, and he still managed to pull through, so we will see if he can pull through yet again. Now, I am going to, while Hero is taking his turn, I'm going to fix the hand so that we can have this properly. Okay, it looks like I won't be able to enter at the moment because the match is ongoing. But we will fix it in the next match. We're gonna see a third damage to Zaizan, and it looks like the Amber Dragon is not gonna be able to do anything. It's not really a fast-paced game at the moment. And both players are taking their time because Zaizan is looking for the pieces he needs, and then Hero might possibly be trying to control the board, which he could possibly do because he has 5 cards in the soul, so he could at any time get rid of a rear guard. It is just up to him when he wants to. It looks like Zaizan will also control down the board, seeing as both players don't have too many cards in their hand. We see a PG go to the bottom, and a stand trigger, which is good for that red eye column, gonna hit over defensive, which means Hero is gonna be pushed to 5 damage on this turn. Now with the soul, the 5 soul that is that Hero currently has, he is still able to get rid of that red eye and potentially end for this game if he can hit good columns. But again, he is going to have to build some really good columns. puts down the Owlleaf. Is he potentially going to use Owlleaf's ability here? Because he can use it and still use Blazing Flare's ability. I'm gonna save Berserk Dragon's ability, possibly putting up a defensive. This could go either way. And depending on whether or not... No. I believe Hero would have to put someone behind the Owlleaf if he wants to secure the game. But that's totally up to him. And he will get rid of the Red Eye. But if he were to attack with Owlleaf first, that would give Zizon a defensive that's at least 20, so Hero would hope for that one trigger. So we shall see how this plays out. And it looks like Hero is saving 2 cards in his hand. Both could potentially be perfect cards, but we cannot see at the moment because of my stupidity. But that is okay. Gonna lead in with the Owlleaf first. Gonna check and see if he has perfect cards. Does not get any perfect cards, but it is going to be one to pass for Hero. And that's all he's gonna need to secure this game, unless Zizon does happen to pull his last heal trigger. All he needs is one. Does not get the trigger, unfortunately. And that Berserk Dragon cannot do anything as well. Good defense by Zizon. Zizon does hold for another turn. But what can Zizon do to come back? Hero is currently at 5, so he could potentially force the game if he can get rid of whatever perfect guards are in Hero's hand. But he could potentially be holding on to 2 perfect guards. Going to call the Faithful Angel, potentially drawing over any card. Puts down the Urail, which does mean that Zizon could go for a game here. Going to draw and put back to the bottom, so if that was a perfect guard, it's not going to be used here. Going to go for face with that Vanguard, checking to see if there is going to be a perfect guard. Gets that trigger, which is great if Hero hits a heal trigger. Gets a double draw, which might be able to save Zizon on this next turn. And that is possibly going to go for game. Hero does need a double heal to live this, which is not likely. Great playing by Zizon. Great playing. Now, Zizon does move officially to the semifinals. Now he does. Now, allow me to update the brackets. We will take a quick cut. I will update the bracket. I will get the next players ready. Yes, now Zizon is in the semifinals and now Hero is eliminated. But that was a great game by both players. And we will cut and be right back. Alright everybody, we are back. Thank you guys so much for waiting. So currently we have Zizon in the semifinals, and our next match is going to be Rhino versus Looker 13. The winner of this match will go on to face Zizon in the semifinals and is going to be very exciting. This is the bracket as it looks right now. And I will go and check on the players and see if they are ready. Okay. And now I'm just waiting for them to be ready. Alright, here we go. So it looks like we have Looker 13 with the Nova Grapplers against Rhino with his Spike Brothers. Now the thing about Spike Brothers is it's done a lot better than Grand Blue did. I think obviously the Spike Brothers event the Spike Brothers clan is better than the Grand Blue because it's so aggressive. So if Rhino can be able to pull off offensive plays, he might be able to end this really fast. Both Nova Grapplers and Rhinos can end things really fast. And we have Rhino going first. Going to ride that Reckless Express. And Reckless Express is a really good card. As a grade 1, you can hit over Interceptors, you can hit the Vanguard, hit over their 11k base. So Reckless Express is a really good card. I will pull up all the triggers and such. So because Looker is running Risers, Battle Riser, he could potentially be running Perfect Riser. But that's just a guess. It could be just a vanilla Battle Riser because he could do like budget Novas with the maybe like Assure Kaiser or Gold Rutile. But because he runs the custom Riser, it does look like it's a Riser deck. And it does look like he's going to try to go for that early 2 damage. And like I said, Novus and Spike Brothers, they both really like to go for that offensive play. And we do see that Looker gets that 2 damage and Rhino gets that early heal. Really early heal. Which is fine for Rhino, because I'm not sure if he wants to get rushed that early. But at the same time, seeing the Juggernaut Maximum in the in the damage zone, is unfortunate, because if he were to draw it instead, he could still cycle it back in the very least. But seeing it in the damage zone means he's not going to be able to see that for the rest of this game. Rides the Treasured Panther and just going to go face, not going to worry about that Burst Riser, which could potentially be a 15k column in the future. And Zyfried is only a 10k, so this might matter in the future. But because Looker does go second, it doesn't seem as if Rhino is worried about the Perfect Riser at the moment. So Perfect Riser, what it does is it takes in all the Perfect Risers on the field into the soul. And so Rhino could potentially eliminate the Burst Riser, the Riser custom on this next turn. And Looker will try to go for that 2 damage once again. And Rhino is not going to get that defensive trigger, so this is going to be 2 attacks. And he is going to be able to shuffle that Battle Riser back into the deck. And Rhino is currently sitting at 3 damage in comparison to Looker's 1 damage. Now passing on to Rhino's turn. We'll see if he was able to pull that Zyfried. And yes, he does get the Zyfried onto the field. Now what Zyfried does is that he is able to, if he reveals a grade 3, call it onto the field. We're going to see him use the Mecha Trainers to search for a Dudley Dan. Now, with Conroe, for Kagero players, you mostly want to search for either the Airmo, which would be useful once the end comes out. Not yet, but once the end comes out, players might search for Airmo, or quite possibly the Perfect Guard. But here, Dudley Dan is an option for Spike Brothers. We're going to see Rhino go for the Rear Guard Riser Custom. And he's going to be able to put that to the bottom of his deck, so that way it won't get hit on this next turn. And that's kind of what he wants in order to move his deck up, his stack up. But really it doesn't make a difference. But he would rather see it in the deck. Oh, and he does shuffle the deck, so he could potentially call it onto the field, calls down a Perfect Guard. So in that instance, he might have called the Reckless Express that he put back into the deck. Pulls a Skydiver, which will be able to be put onto the field. And Skydiver is a really powerful card, because once it hits the Vanguard, it can be placed into the Soul. and you can call a card from your hand, but it doesn't look like he wants to attack with that Skydiver just yet. So Looker might possibly take out the Skydiver if he desires. And we will see what Looker will ride here. Rides into the Ashura Kaiser, so it looks like he wants to go for the offensive stance over the Perfect Riser crit. Now this is kind of an early state. Gonna pull the Burst Riser, put it behind the Trans Riser, so that is going to hit. He could possibly go into the Skydiver with that column, and then Brutal Jack as well. So Looker is putting up a defensive here with the 2 intercepts. Now with Ashura Kaiser's ability, he could potentially restand the Trans Riser and maybe go for another attack. But that is all dependent on whatever triggers he gets. And looking at the triggers, Looker still has quite a few. Gets that draw trigger, which does mean he is able to stand that Trans Riser. He's probably going to give it to he's going to give it to the Brutal Jack. Which is still a viable play. Either way, he is hoping that Rhino does not get a defensive trigger. Rhino does not get that defensive trigger, so that Brutal Jack will still be able to swing for the Vanguard. Trans Riser column does go into the Skydiver because he wants to get rid of that, because that could also be multiple attacks there. And yes, the Brutal Jack does swing into the Vanguard, putting Rhino at 5 damage. And another Perfect Guard goes down, so Rhino only has potentially 2 Perfect Guards to work with, and Rhino does have 3 cards, so at most he has the 2 Perfect Guards. And we will see what Rhino goes for here. Now to stay in the game with only 2 Perfect Guards left, even if he does have 2 Perfect Guards, he would possibly need to put down an Interceptor. But he could use Dudley Dan's ability to search out for a grade 2. That is an option for him as well. It looks like he's going to use Reckless Express again. Get rid of that column. Sorry, get rid of that front row to open up, just in case he gets a grade 3 drive check. And this will be the last time he is able to use Dudley Dan's ability. And we'll see who he searches out for. Searches out for the Bracky, which hits for 20 using that. No, sorry. Yes, does hit for 20 with the Soul Blast, but he probably does not want to use that Soul Blast. He's probably going to keep him on the field for defense. Seeing as he only has 2 cards in his hand, we're going to see Looker get pushed to 4 damage. And we don't see a trigger over on Rhino's side, which would have been great because he could have pushed Looker to the 5th damage. And it looks like Looker is going to try to end it on this turn, seeing that Rhino only has 2 cards in hand, both potentially being Perfect Guards. So if he does manage to pull off a trigger, he could potentially end the game here. But we shall see. Gonna put down the Trans Riser again. Check the top card, and it is yet again another Trans Riser, so he is going to get multiple cards onto the field here, potentially. And that is nice defense because that does conserve his hand. Cosmolord goes back to the deck and shuffled. Going to move Trans Riser to the back in place of King of Sword, which is still a good play. Now the idea is that if Rhino does have 2 Perfect Guards, he is hoping for a grade 3 drive check. Any grade 3 can help him bust through his Perfect Guards. Gets the stand trigger, does not need a grade 3, but that is why you run the Battle Riser in this deck. Is so you can have this stand. Oh, does not stand the... Oh, he has nobody to stand. Yes, he did. He stood the King of Sword. He stood the King of Sword. So that perfect guard does go down. We're going to see that second perfect guard potentially go down. And it does activate. And that Transriser is going to swing, potentially ending the game. Looking at the triggers, I apologize. This might be game here. Because Rhino only has 3 heals. Gets the miracle heal! That is unbelievable from Rhino. But will it save him in this next go-round? Because he has no cards to work with. Looker has 4 cards in hand. And judging by this, Rhino has gone through all 4 of his perfect guards. Looker has not gone through a single one, so this is going to be tough for Rhino to pull through. And he's not able to use Dudley Dan's ability to search for that grade 2 intercept. So really, Rhino's banking on his last 2 heals to save him here. Because he has no cards in hand and only 1 interceptor. So he will get hit potentially twice. So he will probably need 2 miracle heals to live through this. Very tough. And it looks like Looker is going to end this game with the perfect riser. Counterblast 2, get a battle riser into the hand, and yes, this might be game. Seeing that Rhino only has 2 heal triggers left, and that is going to guarantee him the crit. Is he going to put down his cards from his hand because he still wants to make sure that he doesn't get 2 miracle heals, which is unlikely, but it could still happen. Perfect Riser does swing, potentially for game. It's a very, very low chance that Rhino gets a double miracle heal, because that would be back to back to back miracle heals. Oh, and the Skydiver. That is very unfortunate, but that is a very great game by both players. Very great game by both players. And I'm cutting to this page so that we do not see the room code. This is just for security reasons. But that was very well played by Looker. He saved that perfect riser for the end to just finish. That's a good combo to work with. Now that Assure Kaiser, being able to pull off Assure Kaiser was strong. Because what it did is he was able to break through all of those perfect cards. So very good luck by Looker. Alright. And allow me to update the... Oh. Looks like we're going into it and I have no time to update the layout. But Looker does secure a win. I will update it as the match is going on, actually. And yes, I do have all the hands correct this time. Fortunately. Now Rhino is looking to win this game so they could take it to a third. Looker is looking for that second win and secure the win here. He only needs 1 more win. We see Rhino riding the Reckless Express once again. Alright, the layout is now updated. And I will get all the hands sorted out and the triggers. Awesome. We see the Zyfried go into the damage zone early. Now Zyfried is going to be Spike Brothers' main card. You don't want to see anyone else in the Vanguard because Juggernaut and Skydiver are both meant to be in the rearguard circles. And we're gonna see the Fierce Leader Zachary and the Dudley Dan. So he does have all the pieces that he needs here. Now he needs the Zyfried as the grade 3 Vanguard. Because without Zyfried, you really can't really do as much. You're gonna be able to use Mecha Trainer to get that, either the perfect guard, yes, the perfect guard, because that's all he needs. Because he already has the Dudley Dan on the field, which only works if you boost the Vanguard. No trigger, but that's okay. We're gonna see a whiffed heal by Looker, not looking too great. But it's so early game, it could still go either way. Both players have a really big hand. Big as in more than 5 cards. In my case, we're gonna see the Riser Custom, which does get a power boost because of that Battle Riser. So potentially he is saving that Battle Riser for that Perfect Riser. Gonna call down the Perfect Guard here. But inevitably it wouldn't have mattered because either he calls it down onto the field as offense or he drive checks it and it just goes to the bottom. And I think Looker would rather see it onto the field than at the bottom. And even if he does manage to cycle the Battle Riser back into the deck to draw a card, it would draw the card first before cycling it back. So he would not have drawn into the Perfect Guard anyways. It would have been a very low chance he draws into a different one. And we see Rhino get pushed again. Looker is looking great with the offensive push. And we will see if Rhino can strike back here. Rhino is going to be able to pull off that Zyfried. I'm going to see that Juggernaut maximum, so he is going to be able to put down cards. And the Skydiver, he is going offensively here. Now it is still early game, so he's fine doing this play. So what Skydiver can do is potentially call down any Interceptor that is in his hand. So maybe he could go for defense. And the Juggernaut does... They both open up a slot for Dudley Dan and Zyfried, so this is going to be a barrage. And since Looker's sitting at an AK Vanguard, he's not at the strongest as he could be. We're going to see a Juggernaut maximum come from the hand. And he is just looking to get as much damage off as he can. He's going to be able to cycle all the cards. And what he's going to be able to do with Dudley Dan... What he's going to be able to do with Dudley Dan is potentially put a card into his soul and shuffle his deck. So that's really good for him, because those 2 heal triggers that went to the bottom are now shuffled in. And we see the... I actually don't know the card name, so I will just call it by Spike Brothers Trans Riser. That card will be able to call a Goblin Squad, which could be useful in this next turn. So really good offensive push. He was able to cycle back his heals and still get off the damage he needs while having an Interceptor on the field and that Goblin Squad, which is good for offense later. But we will see if Looker can counterattack. He does ride the Perfect Riser, the card that ended the game in the last match. And he will get that Battle Riser once again. So that's now 2 Battle Risers, but if he does use the ability, he would have to suck everyone in. Not going to be able to call anyone from top deck. Now, does he want to suck in his cards? He is going to get rid of his Interceptor just so he can get that crit. Which might mean that Looker doesn't have any other risers to work with other than the Battle Riser, which might he could be keeping to potentially draw into like a Perfect Guard or something like that. He puts down the... Oh, I see. So he's using the high-powered custom riser to get powered up by that Battle Riser, which is also a good play. So we're gonna see that if Looker does attack with Perfect Riser, we will potentially see a Perfect Guard go down by Rhino. he is going to boost with that Battle Riser, so he is going to see if he can get into a Perfect Guard. And looking at things, Looker has gone through 2 of his Perfect Guards, 1 on the field, 1 probably in the damage zone, I'm guessing. Does get a defensive trigger, but does not work because Riser can still hit. Perfect Riser can still hit over the defensive. And that Perfect Guard does go to the bottom, the one he was looking for. And we'll see. We'll see that Rhino does put down that Perfect Guard, so he is safe for this next turn, but with only 2 cards in hand, it's going to be really hard to come back. And we will see how Rhino responds here. Because Rhino does not have the counterblast needed to use Dudley Dan's ability. So defensively, he's hoping to put down whatever intercepts he has in his hand. Or offensively, he's hoping to get potentially a Skydiver. Oh, does go into battle phase, so he might not be able to attack the Vanguard this turn unless he gets Skydiver or Juggernaut Maximum. That's his only hope here. Best case scenario, he gets a double check. But that Goblin squad does still stand, so even if he does get like Zyfried, does not hit a trigger here, so there are no cards, there is no damage being dealt to Looker on this turn. Which is really unfortunate. And it looks like Looker's in a good position because with Perfect Riser, he could potentially go for a game with that last attack. But seeing as Rhino still has 3 Perfect Guards in the deck, or potentially in his hand, he's not sure if he can end here. Gonna put down that Kirara for defense. And he will be able to hit over a damage shield. He's going to swing for Kirara first. Kirara cannot activate because Looker does not have any counterblast. Does not get that defensive trigger, so Rhino is going to have to use whatever Perfect Guards he has in his hand and potentially have to get a heal or a double heal. Now, if Rhino doesn't have a Perfect Guard here, he's going to have to depend on a double Miracle Heal, just like in the last match. And we see another Perfect Guard go to the bottom. So it does not look like Looker is having any luck with Perfect Guards. And Rhino does live another turn. Yet again, he is forced with only 1 card in his hand, the card that he just drew. Now he does have that Dudley Dan that he can work with, and he is going to go straight into it, yes. He is going to use Dudley Dan, potentially put down the Spike Brothers Trans Riser, maybe call for a second defense. That's maybe his only hope, unless he does something completely different. No, going to call the... So I guess he's guaranteeing that he hits a Vanguard. He didn't want to risk it, I believe. Maybe he's hoping for... Maybe he's thinking that he might accidentally get a heal trigger. Now looking at the triggers at the moment, Rhino has shuffled all of his cards, or all of his heals back into the deck, but he has not seen one as of yet. And looking at things, Rhino is in a trouble spot because even though he has an intercept up, he's going to take an attack from that Perfect Riser, which could potentially be game unless he gets that double Miracle Heal, which is still possible. He still has 4 cards in the deck, 4 heals in the deck. We don't see any interceptors from Looker, and he is going to put down that last card. He is confident he's going to finish on this turn. Gets rid of that interceptor. And I think no matter what, if he did have a second interceptor, he just needs to depend on a double Miracle Heal. Gets a draw trigger. and a stand trigger, which both triggers don't really matter here, because if Rhino does potentially hit both heal triggers, he will have enough defense to last until the next turn, but even then, I don't think he will be able to do anything without any counterblast. And we see Zyfried go anime style into the damage zone, and that is going to be a GG. Looker is going to seal the deal there. Great game by both players. Great game by both players. So, looking at the bracket right now, I have not updated as of yet. But Looker 13 will meet Zyzon in the semi-finals. Now remember, if you are in the semi-finals, stick around for the third place match. If you lose in the semi-finals, you have a spot in third place. If you win semi-finals, you have a spot in finals. But again, great game to both players. Our third match is going to be between Mr. Tutu and Fikri. And we will take a short break so that we can get them situated, and we will be right back.